And now, a thought from man. And now, a thought from man. Look, I know this is a difficult one, but you have to do it. You haven't had a review in a month, and people are starting to get restless. Your videos are clearly starting to lose views, and people really want those reviews. And this is kind of a perfect one since it's more recent. So I say you just get on with it. I know it sucks, but this just has to happen. So, are you ready? Okay. And now, a thought from man. You know, I just need someone to come along and tell me we're gonna be alright. Because after watching this, I'm not too sure anymore. This hurt. This show hurt. I mean, what the fuck is Yokio, man? Like, who thought this was a good idea? What the fuck, Netflix? Why would you greenlight this? Why would you give money to this? Oh god, it was painful. Just horribly painful.
What are you saying, dog?
The main premise is about this boy named Kaz Khan, who's supposed to be the most eligible bachelor in the city of Yokio, which is supposed to be the safe haven of rich people. And also, he's a demon slayer. Here's the thing, you don't give a shit though. The reason you won't give a shit is because they don't give a shit. Even though he's a demon slayer, they don't pay attention to it a lot. It's more of a side thing. It's more like a fucking cliff note. It's all mainly about rich high society, you know, the shit like high fashion, like Gucci, Lambi, whatever type of rich fucking fashion there is. That's the main premise of this bullshit series. God, it hurt. There's also this plot point about him being ranked as the #1 eligible bachelor because for some reason they thought, hey, let's make a ranking system of eligible bachelors, but you don't give a shit because they don't really give a shit. It's barely paid attention to. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. I don't understand what made them think people are gonna clearly care about this. We don't care about fucking high fashion as is. Why the fuck would we care in a goddamn anime, damn it? Oh, God.
That sucks.
The main character, Kaz Khan, my God, is he just boring. He is just absolutely boring. He is blander than white bread, and yet he's fucking black. I don't know how you do that. He's just so goddamn boring. When he talks, it feels like you've taken 12 cases of Benadryl. That's how boring he is. He just almost puts you to sleep because everything he talks about is having to do with fucking high fashion or high society and shit like that. So you really don't give a crap if you're not in that type of lifestyle. I don't know what made them think that needed to be a hero or protagonist in general. Like, what the fuck? And it really doesn't help that he's voiced by Jaden Smith. It just doesn't, and he takes a lot of inspiration from Jaden Smith. Like, for some reason, this bitch-ass motherfucker has a goddamn gravesite, and he's not even dead. He just has one just for the sake of having one. I'm like, what? Who has that? And he goes laying on him, like, why? What is the purpose? What the fuck? Oh, God.
You've designed yourself a beautiful grave, sir.
I'm gonna rest for a bit.
The other characters that Kaz comes across, they're just as bad. They're operating in high society, but granted, they're a lot more different from him. He has these two friends named Lexi and Gottlieb who are weird because they talk full on ghetto, but they're supposed to be in like high society, so that's kind of a weird thing going on. And it's so bad because one of them acts so ghetto as to say, we gotta teach these old muddy fuckboys a lesson. I'm like, the word fuckboy made it into an anime. We have full on gone into the shit. We have reached the pinnacle of shitdom when the word fuckboy is in a goddamn anime. Ugh! It just hurts. And all the other characters are bad too. He has this one rival who gets in the way and is just a snobby, and it's like, why is he the enemy? He's basically just as bad as Kaz. So really, I don't root for Kaz no matter what, because his rival is just as bad as him. And then there's this random bullshit by the end of the series where the rival decides, hey, I want to be your homie. I'm like, why? Like, what is the purpose? Where's the transition here? We're just kind of going into a non sequitur here. What the fuck? Like, it made no sense. And then there's this girlfriend, sort of, that he has called Helena, who's just pretentious as a motherfucker, dude. I mean, she sounds like that kid in high school who just complained about everything because there was nothing to complain about. It's like, dude, go do something else, because there's clearly nothing for you to do here. She complains about high society and all that, and conformity and shit, but really, you're just like, shut the fuck up. I mean, damn it. Like, I don't know how these characters are this goddamn boring. I don't know how you do that. It must be a special craft that you have to take years of. You have to take a lot of classes to be this boring. That must be it. Because, Jesus. The world itself, honestly, it's nonsensical. Neo Yokio, they don't really go into depth about this city or its history like that. There's like one part at the beginning of the first episode, but it's not like it really goes in depth of everything you need to know. They just say, hey, demons kind of existed and attacked, and they just kind of existed. That's it. And they're constantly being a nuisance. I'm like, okay, but what's their origin? Why are they just coming up here? What's the purpose of that? That seems like a pretty interesting story now, doesn't it? They don't talk about that. In fact, demons, they barely have a presence here. They show up every now and then and kind of get in the way, but honestly, they're just there for the sake of trying to make the series seem a little bit interesting, but it's just not that interesting. The demons are more boring than working at a fucking desk job. That's just, I don't know how you'd make demons boring. It seems like something that should be impossible, but somehow they managed to do it. There's nothing interesting about them. And the city itself is just so weird. Like, there are just random locations that just feel like they're just there for the sake of being there. Like, for some reason, a few residents live underwater. I'm like, care to explain what's going on there? Why are people just living underwater? Like, why would you want to live underwater? That sounds stupid. But somehow they do, and I'm just like, what's the purpose? And people can go down there and visit every now and then. I'm like, that's just odd. This world just feels so nonsensical, really. Like, that's a big problem of it. You just don't find yourself invested in it because it feels like they don't want you to be invested in it. They don't spend a lot of time with it. So really, you're just like, why should I care? Especially since it's also about high-class society. It's something you're not really gonna be in, so really, why should you give a shit? That's just so stupid of it.
Oh, come on, that's not a big deal.
The dialogue itself is just dumb. It's just plain dumb. A lot of it is just weird. Like I said with the muddy fuckboys line, it's just stupid. And then there's another line like, you don't deserve this big Toblerone. I'm like, what? Why? What is this thing with fucking Toblerones? I mean, I like out of context lines, but that's just weird. Like, I don't know what to make of that. That just felt odd. Like, I just don't get why this dude was walking around with a fucking Toblerone. That's one other thing is just, for some reason, there's nonsensical shit like this fucking Toblerone. I just don't get it. And then there's other weird shit like, for some reason, a character will pick up a cat at a basketball game. I'm like, where did the cat come from? For some reason, there was just a cat roaming around at a basketball game. And they were like at courtside seats. So I'm like, how did that not fuck up the game? That clearly should have gotten in the way. But for some reason, she's just picking up this cat and nobody gave a shit. I'm like, that's just weird. I don't get it. And it made no sense why it was even animated. So, what the fuck? Like, nothing in this series is making any sense. I don't know who thought this needed to be greenlit or fucking funded. Like, Netflix, what are you doing?
You don't deserve this big Toblerone.
The animation is just weird. A lot of the time you will find some animation errors, and it's very obvious animation errors. They're not like small things you could just brush aside and just think, oh, that was just kind of a small thing made in post or something like that. No, it's like, dude, how did you miss that? Like, for instance, they have this one instance at the basketball game where someone shoots a hoop and somehow the ball teleports to the other player and they slam dunk it. I'm just like, how the hell did they do that? And that's just some of the few errors you're gonna find in here. This thing is just riddled with them, and it's just annoying. And most of all, the animation as a whole, it's just stiff. Like, there's no real shading. The framing is just dumb and bland, just as the characters. And it's like, how do you do that? How do you make the animation that bland? Because the characters' faces don't really emote. They just stay like this one way. Sometimes they'll make these random silly faces you find in like those shonen animes sometimes, but it's sort of out of place, so it feels very jarring when it happens. It just has massive inconsistencies with itself. I don't know who thought this up, but Jesus, like, get some help. Like, seek a fucking psychiatric ward, please.
Very funny.
This series feels like it's trying to be a parody, but at the same time it doesn't know what the hell it's trying to parody, so it sort of wants to be its own thing, but it just doesn't know how it wants to go about being its own thing, and I don't know how it just gets lost like that. The main characters are boring as shit. There's no real sense of establishment. Like Kaz's powers, we don't know where they come from. They just decide he's a demon slayer and he has these magic powers just because. I'm like, okay. And then there's this weird thing where he has a flying butler, but the thing is, we see that he's able to fly, but they sort of indicate that it's from a painting, but it's just weird because there's no real establishment. They don't explain anything. So that's just some of the minor shit. And all the other problems is just the fact that this exists. The animation errors, the fucking characters as a whole are just awful. At the last 2 episodes, it decides to have some type of overarching narrative, but it just feels kind of just slapped in there. There's no real point to it, and you're really not gonna follow along. That's sort of the problem, is you don't really follow along with anything going on as the series runs. Thankfully, it's just 6 episodes, but it's 6 episodes of fucking pain. Ugh. I can only say watch this if you're watching with friends. That way the pain kind of spreads itself apart and maybe you can get a few laughs just mocking it. But even then, I don't feel like it's on that level of so bad it's good. It doesn't even feel like that. It just feels like horrible, horrible pain. It feels like a workout, but you don't feel any stronger in the end. I don't know how you do that. Oh God. I'm just hoping the next Netflix series coming out is not that bad, but... But that's just a thought. And I'm saying this now, I am fucking boycotting Toblerones because of this series. Fuck them for this goddamn abomination.